And we continue learning Dirshu Mishna Berurah, continuing Hilchos Kriyas HaTorah, Siman Kov Lamed Hey, and we pick it up from Sif Vav. Says the Mechaber in Sif Vav, Im Nichnas HaKoyin Lebeis HaKnesses. In reality, if we were to try to quantify which part of Kriyas HaTorah we're in the Aliyos and we'll call the Kedima of the Kohen, and when he gets the Aliyah, and what we do in all different scenarios. So Nichnas HaKohen Lebeis HaKnesses Achar She'eschal Yisrael Levarich Abirchas HaTorah. The Kohen comes, but the Yisrael already started saying the bracha, a classical situation. Einai Baisek, the Yisrael does not stop. Aval Baruch Hu Lo Yaveh Eschala. So if the Yisrael says Baruch Hu, and then the Kohen says, I'm here, that's not called starting. So what do we do now? Because there's a Yisrael there. So V'ayimir Yisrael Ba'ateva. So the Yisrael just moves to the side. He stands there. Until the Kohen walks up, takes his aliyah, then the Levi gets his aliyah, va'az yikarei yikra, and then the Yisrael gets his aliyah. Again, quite a choreography move that the Gabbai has to be aware of such a scenario. If there's no Kohen, then who gets the aliyah? Not the Levi. Classical mistake. A Yisrael. And after Yisrael does not go Levi in the place of Levi. Once Yisrael starts, it continues Yisrael. It says the Ramah, but the Levi is allowed to get Rishon. You call him up in the place of a Kohen. So people don't think that the person that is getting the Aliyah is indeed a Kohen. Everyone knows he's either Yisrael or a Levi. Are we going to the Mishnah Berurah over here? Sefkat and Yotes was the first case that the Kohen walks in after Yisrael begins the bracha. She'eschal Ainu Shama Baruch Atah Hashem. Reason number one. Reason number two, we don't want it to be considered a pagam to the Kohen. Everyone should know he wasn't there when they called the Yisrael. Maybe it was a mistake. He wasn't there. And it's mistaver, says the Mishnah Berurah. The Yisrael continues, and it's considered an aliyah. And we don't call the Kohen afterwards. Let's say the Kohen was there. And they made a mistake, and they thought that he wasn't there. Again, these are all very classical scenarios. Vikari Yisrael, Gam Kein Oila Minyan Shiva. Still, that Yisrael is considered one of the Aliyahs. No longer does the Kohen get the Aliyah. Because people are going to think he's not a Kohen for the fact that he got the Aliyah after the Yisrael. But now Sivkat Chaval says that Baruch Hu is not called Aschala. Te'ein Zel Levatal, because it's not a Brach Levatal. Davi Anu, Ta'arei Anu Akal Baruch Hashem Avarech Le'olam Vayed. So again, it doesn't just mean the word Baruch Hu. It means Baruch Hu is Hashem Avarech. And then everyone answers Baruch Hashem Avarech Le'olam Vayed. If the Yisrael did not start now, Baruch Atah Hashem, then the Kohen comes up. Afilu Achi Chayzer HaKohen V'Amar Baruch Hu. But the Kohen then says Baruch Hu again. So let's just play out the scenario to make sure this is perfectly clear. The Yisrael goes up. He says Baruch Hu Hashem Avarech. The people say Baruch Hashem Avarech Le'olam Vayed. The Kohen says I'm here. So what do we do now? The Kohen slides right in, starts again Baruch Hu, and then gets his aliyah. We don't want the Yisrael to be embarrassed, so he stands on the side. So in a scenario that Yisrael gets Kohen, we don't give a Levi next. And if Levi gets next, they'll think the first was a Kohen. They called him up Bim Kohen. They're going to think it was a mistake. So now, a Levi is allowed to get Kohen because he's no less than a Yisrael. It's only if there's no Yisrael that's greater than a Levi. Because if not, the one the godly Yisrael gets Rishon, then the Levi doesn't get it all. Well, the Indian Likras, the Levi, Shlishi Oy Revi b'Makar Shekar Li Yisrael b'Makam Kayin Yesh Ayman de Mutter. Is a Levi allowed to get not Sheni? Because if the Levi gets Sheni, they're going to think that the first guy was a Kayin, but he isn't a Kayin. But what about can the Levi get Shlishi Ravi? Says the Mishnah Berurah, startling detail. Yesh Amr the Motor v'Yesh Aishim Lafiyam Verla Kamam Siv Yod Magavram Shem Lavoshim Dinasenu Elu Ein Nagin Ligros Kain Levi Rak La'achar Nala Maftir Lamaiso. We never give a Kain Levi anything aside for a Kain Levi or Maftir Achar Ein Nafkamina Bazak, because you can't give him Shlishi or Ravi. So before we continue in Sif Zayin, a lot of important Dirshus over here. Number 36 over here. It says Dirshu, if the Yisrael started Baruch Atah Hashem, why can't you just finish Avdei Chukecha? Says the Magen Avraham, in a place that you're able to fix it, you should not do that. That's better, which again is also something that sometimes is a little bit abused. We know this Baruch Atah Hashem, so people think, oh, I just fixed it. That's not so true. It's always better to find the other areas. You messed up. Says the Shalshu Zichel Yitzchak that since you're over Nasein, it's a daraisa, and to began for the Kayin, then the bracha is not a bracha, and it's Bechlal B'Tzia Baruch Neis Baruch Hashem, quite a blasphemy, not something that we want to get involved in. Says Dirshu number 38, very important, that if the Yisrael says Baruch Hu es Hashem HaMavayrech, that's not called the Aschala, but the Kayin again says it again. And even if they sell the Aliyah to the Yisrael, says the Shevet HaLevi, the Yisrael's Schos is not called Mashal Ischal Levarech, and you give him back the Aliyah, and it's a one big tayis, and the Kayin gets the Aliyah. And similarly, Dirshu number 39, says the Kaf HaChaim, he says Baruch Hu again. Continues the Dirshu number 40 over here, that the reason is that the Levi could get Kayin. Why? Because he's like Garami Yisrael. Dirshu comments over here regarding getting Aliyah, does not mention that there's any adifos. There's nothing better, seemingly, a Levi getting the Aliyah than a Yisrael. However, with regarding to starting benching for his Berach Samaitzi, giving tzedakah, we're going to see in Siman Reish Aleph Amir Hashem, there is a precedent from the Levi. Dirshu number 41 points out that, let's say the Gadol is a Meichel, because we said this is only if the Gadol is not a particular. It's only if there's no other gadol. So says Dirshu, but if the gadol is Michael, says the Arlet Zion, then it works and you don't have to give him first. And if not, you don't give the Levi at all. If the Yisrael gets the first Leah, you don't give the Levi at all. And says Dirshu number 43, the fact that we don't necessarily do this, we don't start saying, wait, there's no Kayin, so okay, let's give it to the Rav, let's give it to the Talmud Chacham. Why not? Says Rav Moshe Feinstein, Ulai, the time is Kadesh Lo Tiyeh Machlokes. Fascinating Rav Moshe, because we're seeing that the Pashtas Halacha is that it goes to the Gadol, it goes to the Talmud Chacham. We know the minhag is not that way, so Rav Moshe is explaining where that comes from. And we continue with Sif Zayin. Says the Mechaber, there's a Kayin and Levi in Shul, and you call the Kayin, and you don't think there's a Levi. So call the Kayin v'makam Levi. He starts getting another bracha. Ein mafsikin oisai. You do not stop the Kayin. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkatan Chava v'eschol avarich. Hainu gamkin, like we saw a moment ago. Shama Baruch Atah Hashem. Aval Baruch Hu levad lo v'eschol again. Baruch Hu Hashem avarich is not a eschol. Va'ila halevi levarich. Let's say he did just say Baruch Hashem avarich. Then what? The Levi comes up and gets the aliyah v'kan. Yitzarech HaKayin lahante likros acher kach. Kayin doesn't have to wait. Because he already got an aliva. So a fine nuance of a difference. Before we said that the Kayin would wait, but over here we would not. As we've seen previously. We continue with Sivchas. Ein Levi beis hagenez. This Kayin shekar reach from Varashin is the Kayin Makam Levi. The Kayin gets Levi. Avalok Kayin Acher, says the Mechaber, not a different Kayin, the same Kayin. Why? Because we see the Kayin getting Kayin, and then a different Kayin get a Levi. People are going to talk and say, the first Kayin must have not been kosher, that's why he's not getting a second aliyah, which of course we're slowly starting to gain an appreciation how careful we have to be about a pagam Kayin, that no one should think that a Kayin is not kosher. As we continue with the Mishnah Berurah Chavchas Avlog Kayin Ach Vuadin, and so too Shleikri Yisrael b'Makam Levi. You don't give a Yisrael Kadesh Le'Yamar Ala Rishon She'enai Kayin Oishu Pagam. We don't want to think the first one's not a Kayin or a Pagam. It's Lord Karach Rav Levi because he didn't give a Levi afterwards. V'Kam She'ita Yisrael Azeh Shu Levi, or maybe they'll think that the Yisrael is a Levi. Sharisha Pagum Sivkat Chavtas. V'had like Kamer She'echad Me'am Pagum Klamam Sivtas. Misham De Ma'irikan. You know what? Before we see this, it's probably better. Let's see Siftas. We'll understand the contrast. Says the Mechaber in Siftas. So the previous Sif was talking about that if there's no Levi, give the Kayin twice. You don't give a different Kayin because we don't want them to think the first Kayin's a Pagum. Now the Mechaber says you do not give two Leviim one after another. If the first Levi got Kayin, you don't give a different Levi. Why not? So you don't say one of them is Pagum. So now we understand that what the Mishnah Berurah is talking about. A moment ago we said that if there's no other Kayin, that we don't give a different Kayin, Levi, so they don't think that the first one is a Pagum. Over here we're saying you don't give a different Levi, so you don't think that neither of them are a Pagum. So explains the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkat Chavtesh, Arishan Pagum, V'adlu Ka'amar, like we just saw in Siftesh, Ka'amar, Shech Ben Pagum Vam Siftesh. Misham, the reason is, Te'mayri Kana Filu Echad, the most Liklam Bavim Al Shem Shem Kahanim. We're talking about that we know for sure they are Kayanim. When we call Makam, Barishan, Ika Lilish, and it's Vada Achash, Karoda, Avu, and Nisiv Gerusha. Even though we know they're both Kayanim, they're verified Kayanim. We still have to be worried that maybe they found it afterwards that his father was a Gerusha, Shema Zinsa, B'Seiser, V'Nischalach, Hekach Zaroi, B'Dekdush Kuna, maybe he was Mizaneh. Well, Hekach Sharol Shov, the Kayin Echad. So that's why all of a sudden new information came in, so we gave a different Kayin Levi. Av B'Sheni, when it comes to Sheni, Lekel Amiti Bazeh. When it comes to Levi, we don't have this concern. Why not? Dichalalu Av Makam Levi Lo Yalan Lekraisai. Because then he shouldn't even get Levi. Kosva Chreinim. Continues the Mishnah Berurah, closing out Sivkat and Chavtas. After V'Taina Sheina Levi Misaneh. If there's no, Levi's not fasting, the Kohen gets the Aliyah. Shechem and Pagim Sivkat and Lamid, Avi Sheyoidin Shavi and Levi, Kalamech Shavim, Nisiv Mamzeres, and Nisino Psula Zara Mikdush Lavia. So and messed up the Kedusha of Avshu Mamzer Mikol Makom Karbatayra, Kishar Yisrael. Still he could get the Aliyah. And we close out the day with a few dirshus over here. It's note number 43 in Dirshu. You don't give another Kohen. Let's say you did. You messed up. You give one Kohen, you give a different Kohen. Levi says the because of the Sefer Stam, Sefer Tur, Rav Shlomo Kluger, one of his many Sfarim. They say Rav Shlomo Kluger wrote his many Sfarim, his Communion Shloimai 375 Sfarim. So one of them is called the Sefer of Stam. That what? Shalo Yala, the second Kohen, V'chinoyer of Nisan Karel, it's the same way. However, let's say he already made the bracha, says that same Sefer, you do not take him down. Why? Because then it's going to create a Shem Hashem Levatala, and therefore we're not worried about a Pagam in such a scenario. If you call a Kayin B'Makom Levi, says the Sefer Shari Ephraim, the Shatz should announce Yamoin B'Makom Levi, so that they know that he is a Kayin. And finally, Yevarech HaKayin B'Makom Levi Lo Yikru Yisrael. What's the Chiddush? Dirshu number 44 says that Rabba, that we do not say that there's no Pagam for the Levi. That we say that there's no issue of having a Pagam in the Levi in such a case by giving the Kayin the Levi. Shasibra Mevinam, everyone understands that the reason why the Levi is not fasting is because the reason why the Levi doesn't get the Aliyah is because he's not fasting. And V'siyat Ishmaya, we're going to pick it up from Sif Yud in the next year in Mirza Hashem.